Hey, and greetings. I'm Gerd Leonhard, futurist in Zurich, Switzerland. I've been talking about the good future for 2 or 3 years. It's become a major point and turning point also in my life. Speaking about a future that is good and not dystopian and not utopian, but that's realizable. A future that we can all believe in, a narrative about a future that is outside of the narrative of fascism or communism or libertarian, right? A future that we can realize as something that we would all want. Of course, that's a key question. What does a good future look like? And how do we get there? So I made a film called thegoodfuturefilm.com. You can watch it there. It's quite popular on YouTube. And out of this whole discussion about the good future and all the feedback I've gotten, I decided to start a project, the Good Future Project. Thegoodfutureproject.com is the website that we're going to launch fairly soon, or that is already launched by the time you're watching this. So the Good Future Film kind of points in this direction of saying, it's entirely possible to build a good future. We have all the tools, we have the technology, but what we're missing is the telos, right? The will, the purpose, the wisdom, the intelligence, the collaboration to actually make it happen. Famous futurist Buckminster Fuller once said that humanity is building all the right, creating all the right technologies, but ends up using it for the wrong reason. And that is just so true, right? We have all the science and technology. I mean, look at the exponential change that we're going in genetic engineering and AI, cloud computing, 5G, internet, mRNA, electric vehicles, battery power, long list. Right? We're doing all of these things. We're inventing all of those. But the question is, how do we actually turn that into a policy and turn that into a good future rather than a future where we're competing and not collaborating? Right now, you could be forgiven here in the summer of 22 when you look around saying, it doesn't look like the good future is realistic, right? With climate change and heat waves and food shortages and inflation, and the story goes on. So I think it's important to tell the story of a good future, to have a new narrative. And that narrative should go out on a global basis to say that it's entirely possible that we all, eventually 10 billion of us in 2030, can have a good future. Hence the Good Future Project. The Good Future Project is a non-commercial, a public organization that's essentially a network of people who talk and think and speak and present the good future. It's a network of people who have great stories to tell, who are talented artists, who share media, who make films and videos, who debate, who write books. Right? It's people who talk about how we can realize the good future. It's a positive story. It's a story about empowerment, a story about hope and optimism. We will have 3 precise topics that the Good Future Project will talk about, and we'll have various things that we're doing with those projects, but with those topics. And so 3 topics are: first, the idea of climate change, decarbonization, dealing with global warming, new energy, pollution, environment, indigenous people. That is the first part of the discussion. How do we actually redo our economy to be green and sustainable? I always say green is the new digital and sustainable is the new profitable. How do we do that? Tim, that's topic number 1. Topic number 2 is technology and humanity. As technology is becoming infinitely capable, how do we use technology for the good? How do we avoid this too much of a good thing problem? Too much of a good thing, like social media, is a very bad thing. As we can see, as it's kind of destroying democracy and bringing us into divides rather than bringing us together. So how do we govern technology? How do we deal with AI and robotics and automation and artificial intelligence? How do we do all of that to create a good future? Topic number 2. And the third one, of course, is the most difficult one. How do we build a new economic logic? Not fascism, not extreme capitalism, not libertarianism, right? Not communism. How do we build something that is actually good for us in the future? A new economic logic. That's been talked about for quite some time. It's not a new topic. Al Gore talked about sustainable capitalism, social capitalism, positive capitalism. It's been talked about a lot, but how do we build a system that goes beyond GDP? That's our main problem. Right? We're driving a society into a new direction, but the stock markets are still only interested in profit and growth. The biggest company in the world is Aramco, an oil company, right? A company that essentially is killing us with their activities. I mean, when you look at the reality of that just a few years from now, you will be laughing about the fact that this company can make so much money doing something that is so bad for us. So the idea of concept of making a lot of good money doing very bad things has to end. But how do we do this? And how do we create a new logic, a logic that puts together people, planet, purpose, and prosperity, as I call it. So those three topics, right? Technology, climate change, decarbonization, and a new economic logic. That's the core of the Good Future project. We're going to be presenting lots of blog posts, participations, and writings and essays from lots of great people, and you're invited to contribute if you so choose. We're going to be presenting artwork, films, illustrations from people who are talking about these topics. We're going to have live events where we speak together, of course live being virtual live, right, where we have virtual conferences on these topics that are streamed out to the public. And eventually we're going to have real life events where we get together for what I call the Good Future Festival to celebrate the idea of creating a good future and to talk about what it means and to really move the needle. The goal is to start a movement, and I'd like to invite you to be part of this, to be part of the Good Future project. This is non-profit. There's no other intent than to drive things forward, to put people together, all the other great organizations that already exist, right? To put us together into a place where we can exchange narratives and stories and exchange optimism and grow a movement that will help all the rising tide float all boats. Thanks very much. Have a look at thegoodfutureproject.com, and thanks very much for your time.